Before I give my testimony, I want to say thank you for listening to us today and hearing this bill. And also, I want to point out that this is something that is trendy right now, talking about solitary confinement and in trying to fix segregation. As you know, California passed, it wasn't a law, it was a lawsuit, and it's working very well for them. And places like Illinois, Mississippi, New York are working on it, and many other states. And I wanted to say that when they were talking about...
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
When you say they're working on it,
they're introducing, the laws are being introduced.
Give us an idea of the types of... What did the lawsuit... Give us what the goal was of the lawsuit or these other statutes that you're talking about.
In California, specifically?
For instance, yeah.
So in California, they can hold you indefinitely, as they do in Rhode Island. And the prison population is way much bigger. And segregation there's like 10,000, more than 10,000 people in segregation or something like that in the whole state. And it's reduced. I think the amount of time that they can have now is not more than a month in segregation. And everybody that's been there more than a certain amount of time, I don't have it. It's online. You can see the...
Can you... So the California courts ruled, you're saying that a certain amount of time was the maximum allowable segregation? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and now it's not 23 hours. I think it's like 20 hours, and they have to have programming and a lot of stuff to actually help them instead of punish them.
Thank you.
And in Mississippi, they saw the recidivism, it went down a lot when they fixed segregation over there. It went 75% down and 20% in just 1 year. And they also saved a ton of money. This study was done by the ACLU. And I just want to point out that most people think that people in segregation are there because they're violent. And that is not true. 5 of 6 people that are currently in segregation are for nonviolent offenses. And I'm just going to read my testimony. My name is JoseDavi Lamoso. I'm a formerly incarcerated person, and I have been held in solitary confinement several times. I'm here today because solitary confinement is torture. We as humans are social creatures. We are not meant to be alone for long periods of time. We need to reduce and eventually end the use of solitary confinement. I spent over 12 months in a 6 by 8 foot cell for 23 hours a day. I had no human contact. I was cut off from my friends and family and outside world. I didn't have any in-person visits. I was rarely allowed to make phone calls. And the guards withheld my mail for no reason. I felt completely alone. I also had nothing to do. I had no books to read, hardly any recreational time, and I didn't have access to any of my commissary account. During this time, I was vulnerable and mistreated by correction officers almost every day. Guards would force me to strip naked for uniform changes and cell searches. They touched me inappropriately, went through my stuff unnecessarily, and made fun of me for being queer. They used pepper spray to discipline people in other cells, and the spray would come into my cell and make my eyes and throat burn. Once, my molar cracked and pinched my nerve, and my face was swollen, and I was in excruciating pain, but the guards did not get me medical attention or help for 2 days. When I returned to general population after a year in solitary, it was really hard for me to adjust. After being deprived of stimulation for so long, normal life was overwhelming. For months, all my senses felt heightened, sounds were too loud, lights were too bright. Being around other people made me extremely anxious, especially in groups. It took a long time for me to trust other people again. It's hard to make friends in prison, and I lost the community I had before I went into segregation. When I got out, I felt like I took 10 steps back and could not catch up again. The damaging effects of isolation last long after your release from solitary. After my year in segregation, I struggled with PTSD, depression, anxiety, insomnia, and other mental health problems. I'm still in therapy to help me cope with these issues. As a result of my time in solitary, I prefer to be by myself when I'm upset, even though I know it will be healthier to lean on my community. Sorry, give me 1 second. Solitary cuts you off from the people who could be supporting you, your friends and family, and it's those people who can keep you healthy and prevent you from getting into trouble, from going back to prison. Our government needs to hear the voices of those of us who have been harmed by solitary confinement. We need to seriously reassess how to support people improving our lives instead of leaning so heavily on the practice that slowly and actively destroys us in our communities. We need to come together to end this cycle of abuse. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, JoseDavi Lamoso.
Are there any questions or comments? Senator Lombardi.
Jose, let me, if you don't mind, I'm trying to be a little consistent in the questions that I ask. What time period are we talking about that you were experiencing the segregation?
It was over a year.
No. In terms of historical reference, when are we talking?
Oh, what year was this?
Yeah.
It was 2006.
2006, and you've been out since 2006?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that to be the case still today, the way your experiences with segregation?
Yeah, I work with an organization, Black and Pink, and we support LGBTQ people that are incarcerated, and all the people that I'm in contact. I have 2 pen pals, and both of them are in the ACI and similar stories.
Okay. You heard Richard Ferruccio talk about mandating that there be windows in a cell. The cell that you were in, did it have a window?
No.
It did not?
No.
And in this 1 year that you were there, were you in this cell 23 hours a day?
Yeah, sometimes the whole day.
All right, thank you.
I also want to add that segregate, like a lot of queer and trans people are put in segregation. I would say like 80% of the people that I'm in contact with, and we have over 10,000 members, have been in segregation for being queer and trans. And also mental health. That's the tool they use to help people with mental health. They just put you in segregation. Yes.
ACI?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Archibald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Lombardi asked 2 of the questions. Jose, if I may,
Yeah.
I commend you for coming and talking. Take
Thank
a lot
you.
of courage, and you're doing a fine job. So, you're doing all right, okay? The 2 questions Senator Lombardi asked were 2 of my questions. The third question I have is, what landed you in SEG while you were there? I'm drawing an inference from your testimony, but I want to hear you say it. What got you in SEG while you were there?
So I worked in the intake department, and they were taking people's sneakers off, and I brought them back to the facility. They were taking people's sneakers off because they were not the right color, and I brought them back inside the facility.
So you broke, Chairman, so you broke a rule.
I did broke a rule, yeah.
You broke a rule, and how much time did you get? Did you get 1 shot of 365 days?
Yeah.
And how often were you reviewed? Were you reviewed monthly, weekly? How often did you see clinicians?
The first review was after 30 days. I was reviewed by the psych department, and then I don't think it was like a set time. I think it might have been maybe 3 times.
In a year?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Senator Jabour.
Question. Thank you for your testimony, Jose. Yesterday I had a document given to me that I guess was prepared by Black and Pink, which was your organization. It was very informative. Is that an organization that has funding, that works on these type of issues, just so I know a little bit more about the organization?
Yeah, so right now, currently, we're not a nonprofit organization, but we're in the process of becoming one, but it's a nationwide organization.
Yeah. Thank you for that document. It was very helpful.
You're welcome.
Thanks.